Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching The Boys, Season 3, Episode 3.
Barbary Coast.
What is that?
I don't know. It is a region in...
Barbary? Is it a coastline in Barbary?
No, it's North Africa, Ottoman, Muslim pirates. Yeah. No, it's not Nicaragua.
We don't know why. We don't know why it's called that.
Sorry.
We haven't figured it out yet. Well, it's the morning after Homelander's diatribe.
Yeah. Starlight's rewatching it, and she's like freaking out a little, and Ashley goes running by, and she's like, I don't have time for you right now. And then she bursts into Homelander's room where he is fully nude. And basically to tell him that he's trending up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's pulling up because of it. Like, we went almost as far as saying they like how you say it like it is.
Uh-huh.
But also he's like up with like old white men in the Rust Belt. And I was like, ugh.
And so they're really leaning into the him and Starlight because I guess them combined, which
is
I guess
even
that
more
checks. I'll allow that.
Yeah.
But they're still doing this very silly show.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with her old, what's his name,
Supersonic.
Supersonic. He was pinging me in this episode.
Pinging you how?
Suspicious? Not suspicious, but it wasn't going into like a milady territory, but,
no, but
there's a lot of men not listening to Starlight.
Well, I kind of liked what he said at the end, because she basically is like, you need to leave. They're going to offer you the spot on the 7, but you need to say no, and you need to leave. And instead, he basically is like, when we were together, I was like in rehab and all this, and, like my mom died and like all kinds of stuff, and you didn't quit on me, and so I'm not going to quit on you.
Mm-hmm.
Because she basically told him everything. She was like, Homelander's crazy. He's threatened to kill me. He's probably going to try to kill all of us. Like, it's all this stuff. Kind of,
like, I don't think he was truly not heeding her warning. Like, it was like, oh.
I mean, of course, yes, but I also read it more as him being like, you could use all the help you can get if this stuff is true. Okay. I'm willing to be wrong later if he turns out to be like a full milady, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I was necessarily... I remembered. I was like, I knew I was going to start somewhere, and I could not remember. It was her little Miss Beauty pageant. I had forgot her mother was like that terrible, right?
She kind of came around towards the end, but she was that terrible. Because when everything came out about the Compound V and that the superheroes were made, not born, she was like, no, like, oh, I did this for you. And like, what about me? Because like, I sacrificed all this stuff too. And it's like, it's the classic parent thing where it's like, I didn't choose to be here. You made me be here. And then now you're making me feel guilty about it? Absolutely not. And so it's even further to that, because it's like, not only did she make Annie be here, but then she made her be a superhero. And it's like, that's not... That
book ended the episode where it's like, if Starlight can do one thing, it's like, turn it on and grin and bear it. And she had to do Hit Me Baby One More Time.
She was like 10.
Yeah, there was a couple things in this episode that, because what did fucking Seth say about... about the...
Oh,
he's a real panty dropper for the 11 to 14-year-olds. And she was like, bleh.
She literally, Starlight was like, don't ever say that again.
But yeah, that song is something. We're in a real sort of like, we're 20-something years out of Britney's career. And so we're sort of re-examining it. I mean, it was provocative when it came out. I remember that. Sure. But we were also like, the age.
We were the same.
We were like 17, 18, 16 when it was happening. And watching a 10-year-old do it, I was like,
it's a no for me.
So she did end up choosing Supersonic to be on the team. And she was gonna have...
Silver Kincaid.
Yeah, that's a good name.
It is.
But Homelander double surprised her twice with the deep. Yeah. Once in private and once in public.
Well, I think after, like, when it was happening, when it was getting filmed, I think she knew. By that point, she had, like, agreed to it. I appreciate her continued issue with the Deep. That's not a problem for me, but she looked afraid of him. And that I didn't maybe love that acting choice by Erin Moriarty, because I don't think I think she should just be still angry. I don't think she should be afraid of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that.
Maybe it's just because we know how pathetic he is that it's, I'm like,
I think it's
obvious.
That well is not deep. But his fucking piece of work wife,
Sandra.
Because Will said something, he's like, I can't wait for her to die. And I was like, either that or I'm waiting. I feel like we haven't gotten the second shoe.
That's the thing.
I think that she's going to kick it into high gear.
I either need her to die or I need her to become a superhero.
No, I think that there's a really interesting dynamic to him having something that she wants or needs. But because the most interesting thing she did in this entire episode, well, actually, no, I'm going to take it back. I think she's great, because I cannot believe she hugged Starlight and was like, we're going to be sisters.
Ew.
There's no scenario. There's no way.
These are parallel streets.
But it's no other Seven's significant other seems to have that bond.
No.
So it's just sort of acknowledging the Eskimo sisters of it all. Can you still say that? That's a thing. I don't
like that.
But that's what I mean. I was like, oh, so she's just in. Like, she just knows what is happening. And then her texting him to eat the damn octopus, I thought was... Because there's a part of me where I'm like, do they not know? I forget,
Know what?
His connection with all of
they know. They don't care. They all think he's a joke. That's what basically in episode 2, when Starlight is confronting the Deep again, she's like, I checked around and you're not the number 2 person here. Everyone thinks you're a joke. You're just the guy that talks to fish.
I saw a spoiler for this, or one of those out of context spoilers for this episode, and it was an octopus, and it was, there was an element to the spoiler. It was an octopus on a plate, and I was like, okay. So when the first octopus bit happened, I just assumed that was it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, sure. I was like, but for this show, that's pretty... He
was dirty talking the octopus while he fucked his wife.
Which we later... found out was a male octopus?
Yeah.
Named, was it Travis?
Timothy.
No judgment, no kink shaming, no nothing. We love to see it. But it was unexpected.
It was unexpected.
For me. In spite of the laughing and in spite of how we got here, that's probably one of the more upsetting things I've ever seen in my life.
It was just horrible.
I think it was worse than the whale. I think it was worse than the dolphin.
Oh, 100%. Because it wasn't so immediate and it wasn't so personal and he wasn't so present in the situation.
And we were present.
And we were so present. And Antony Starr was just staring him down. And he brings in a seafood platter, a seafood tower, which in the first place is so rude. I just go the splash route with her tearing into the lobster. So for me, I was sort of they're his friends. Yeah. So then he basically and I was like, it's that fucking octopus. And it's still alive. 100%. Both those things are true. So he's they all are kind of eat the octopus. Only Ashley is sort of nervous and even remotely sympathetic. Colby Minifie. Oh my God. So we've sang her praises before. Yeah. She's phenomenal. She played a equally crazy character on Jessica Jones. Because I was going to say, she came in really hot with one of the most unlikable characters on Jessica Jones. And we ended up liking her in season 2. She comes around. Season 2. I came around on her too. But her presence, first of all, her role, her character in this show is such an interesting character and such an interesting presence. And then Colby's portrayal of the character. I love how in between worlds she is. Yeah. She fully has one foot in the insanity of the soup world. Yeah. And the other foot is firmly planted in a human. Yeah. The humanity of it all. Well, she gets a lot of reminders of how human she is. Which I think is interesting. It's fascinating. Yeah. Even her look, even the way, I don't know. So her acting the entire dinner scene. The whole thing.
because it starts with I'm going to go for 30 more minutes. It starts with them eating all of the food.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, do they know that he's going through this crisis? Because at first she's just sort of oblivious, eating this disgusting prop seafood. Because you guys were arguing what the oyster.
It was so viscous. No, it wasn't even the ones they were taking out of the shell. She gets one on a fork, and then it drips down like globby stuff. And Will was like, well, maybe it's butter. And I was like, you don't put raw oysters in butter. It's like lemon juice.
It was like, because I was like, maybe it's oil, like olive oil, or like a type of.
I still don't.
I was trying to make it a ravioli. It was
it was really disgusting.
It was so much. But then her like realization
about the live octopus
and what Homelander is doing to Deep.
Yeah.
Because it's like she's got to be compartmentalizing. Like she's
at a certain point you're
walking in that room. I don't think she was like clearly Homelander is pulling a power move.
Because that's the other thing. At a certain point, I think you might forget that like, well, these ones are dead. He can't hear them. They're not talking. So like maybe that kind of goes out of your mind. But he is basically looking at a graveyard in his a tower graveyard in his.
He also can like recognize them.
Yeah.
Because I think he recognized the lobster. I don't.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't remember. But anyways, it was, and also it's like not to go there, but I feel like we have to. We're going to be quick. It's a thing, and also like the octopuses eating live octopuses is a thing, and we're in the process of making it not a thing.
We're in the process of
like Australia has reclassified
making it fully illegal because they are the smartest invertebrate on the planet. Also, they're sociopaths, and also they're actually from space. So the more we torture and eat them, the harder we're gonna die when their parents come back for them.
Have you seen the Futurama episode, The Problem with Poplars?
Yes. Yeah.
It was awful. And there was one point where you were like, you said something about it being digital, or did I say it was digital?
It was not a real octopus.
Oh, no, of course not. But then it was worse because they were sort of giving it like.
So first of all, it's still sitting on the plate, and he's like, I can't do it. I definitely can't do it. And he's like, he's begging for his life. And that's the first part where I was like, oh no. And so I kind of thought it might be best if he just stabbed it in the brain.
Well, Homelander wasn't going to let him.
Of course. But then he starts eating it head first.
Well, yeah.
So he's like but he's just swallowing the whole, and it's a pretty big octopus.
It was too big. That was the cherry on top of the sundae. It was like.
So he's got the whole head in his mouth, and he, with his mouth full of octopus, goes, he's praying now. He's praying. To what? What was this octopus praying to? What is octopus God? I'm literally crying.
I thought I was gonna need a moment. Like you were like, I might throw up, and I was like, it's same.
Yeah, it was really tough.
It was, and he just has ink pouring.
And then, okay, I could write a thesis about the face and the little gaspy laugh that Chase Crawford does with the ink spilling down. He has swallowed an octopus that was his friend. He has swallowed him whole.
Oh, he just came to it, like.
And he came to it that morning.
They were paramours.
So, and he's got the ink dripping down his chin, and he just goes, unbelievable. It's moments like that where I'm like, the people from Gossip Girl are good actors.
This show has usually one scene like that per episode.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that I think another show would be too either afraid of or just flat out ashamed by.
Oh, okay.
That they would blow through it and it wouldn't be effective. But this show is like, we're going to spend time on it.
We're going to sit
We're going to put money
Yeah.
into it. Like, artisans are going to be involved. It dares you to actually go to these places.
Yeah.
And I think it is more successful. I think it's beyond just shock value at a certain point.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I want to talk about Grace.
Okay.
I remember liking Grace Mallory.
Mm-hmm.
Do we trust her?
I mean, To a point. She's a CIA agent.
A career CIA agent.
Yeah.
So it's like she's gonna have been in...
Yeah, she's not currently, because she's like retired and like on the run with Ryan now. But yeah, she was in the CIA for a really long time. She has done some shady shit.
Well, no, because I'm saying, because like they were talking about her time in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how, I don't know, Russians and communism and maybe...
It's all the Cold War stuff.
Yeah.
We sold guns to Iran and Afghanistan to fight the Russians, and then that really just never
they were
blew
talking
back
about
on us at all.
cocaine, and he was like, oh, were you involved in that like thing with like the putting crack in like the disadvantaged neighborhoods and stuff?
Yeah.
And he was, and she was just sort of like, I'm an old lady in the government. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I that's how it was. Like, that's what we did.
I think the important thing is that she's clearly regretful and remorseful and conflicted about it. Like in the present
well, in which case the flashback was beneficial and helpful because it good casting too.
Oh yeah, really good casting
for both her and
oh yeah, Edgar.
But it like showed her promise, her position, being a woman in the military in this place, and what the others saw in her. I find her to be a very interesting character, and I am sort of just with shows like this, I'm terrified at every turn that we're going to be betrayed by someone that I like.
So I don't think we are going to be betrayed by her. She is clearly taking good care of Ryan. He seems as happy as he could possibly be. She is also being helpful. She is also being forthcoming with the information she has as they're asking for it.
Although I cannot believe for 1 second that Soldier Boy is dead.
No.
And was killed by some weapon the Russians have that we've never followed through on. So I'm like, she can't believe that.
I don't think she believes it, but she said as much where she was like, I tracked him and the weapon.
She did say that.
But I lost the trail behind the Iron Curtain because she was like, there's only so much power I have.
Yeah.
And also that was 40 years ago now.
Butcher was hungover from the V-24.
Yeah.
It was it was rough. Threw up in Huey's face.
He did throw up in Huey's face. I'm having issues with Butcher. They're the same issues I've been having like the entire he's my least favorite character.
But now we've said it.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. I mean,
I love Carl Urban. I think he's doing what he needs to, but he's like,
is it that there's not is it not growth or
there's no growth? That's part of it. There's no growth. He just still, like, especially at the beginning of this episode, he's just giving Huey the hardest time about having been, like, duped by Victoria, which they all were. Uh-huh. Everybody was. And he also told them literally as soon as he found out. And so he's just, like, dragging him up the room and down back it. And Huey's like, are you done? And he's like, oh, no, I'm just getting started. And I'm like, why, though? Like, this is not necessary or appropriate. Mm-hmm. It's just sort of... growth, yes, there is none. And that's my problem.
I don't know if it would change the show too much if he did, but also, I mean, this is a show that has thrilled us by the way it's able to advance things.
Yeah, I'm not asking for him to become a different person. Yeah. I just like a little bit of recognition.
The Harry and the Hendersons trope is like one of my least favorite because we talk about this a little bit in our general conversations about shows and stuff where it's like it's always a little bit frustrating when the audience has information that the characters don't.
Yeah.
And we're watching characters make decisions we know are bad. Mm-hmm. And if anything, what that scene accomplished, like him blaming Ryan for killing Becca.
Sure.
Is what that accomplished for me was character growth for Ryan.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the thing too is like, I think the thing that annoys me the most about Butcher is that, like, for as much shit as he gives everyone else, he is the biggest secret keeper. Mm-hmm. Like, no one knows any of his shit. No one knows that he took the V-24. Like, no one knows all of this stuff. And he's keeping it a secret, where it's like, what is this going to lead to? Is he going to become addicted to it? Or well, the come down seems pretty bad, so... That's not always enough. Prevent you from... getting high again. Oh no, it would be enough for me. It seemed terrible. Yeah, well, you don't have a drug problem. Good.
You're like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm super good.
I also think Karen Fukuhara is really good. I mean, she's very expressive.
Yeah.
And you have to be when you're not speaking.
Yeah.
But she just brings we talked about this in our previous coverage and also off camera where we're like, for a show called The Boys, there is a wealth of female characters and interesting and different and dynamic.
Yeah, differently interesting female characters. Because at no point would you argue that, like, Starlight is the same as
Ashley or Kamiko.
Exactly. Or like Maeve, like, who sat this episode out. She sat out the last 2 episodes, actually, which, I mean, I love the idea that they're sort of sitting her out because they don't have anything for her, as opposed to, like, forcing her to be in
I think she has plot coming.
But also, yes, I like it.
Because that's also important to, like, parse things out.
Yeah. Okay.
But, because even, I mean, to that exact, well, I wanted to say I just like Kamiko's work with Ryan.
That was great.
But also, especially the second he started to get mad that she went into full blown, like, and her breaking Huey's arm was just. I do love how she was just like ready to do it.
Yeah.
And
she's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Mother's Milk was like, whoa, okay, whoa. I forgot how much. Well, I remembered that I liked him. Yeah. I forgot why I liked him.
Yeah.
And within 30 seconds of this episode, I was like, there it is.
Right.
Because didn't he have a really funny bonding scene with Starlight in season 2?
Yeah, they will go on like a road trip. The 3 of them go and they go for donuts and they're sort of like talking about their parents.
But to the interesting female characters, we got Sherry back in this episode. I like her. She's not a important or like pivotal character yet. I mean, maybe she's about to be. But she was Frenchie's paramour before Kamiko.
From season 1.
And she's gotten involved with
the
Russian Nina, I think her name was. Yep. And she stole heroin?
Yeah, something. She needs to get out
Nina's
of town.
out heroin. And
and Frenchie
paying her back will not.
Yeah, Frenchie gave Cherie passports, and then Nina was like stepping on his balls essentially to like try to get him like back in, and he just was like, no. Because he was like, I work for the CIA now.
You want the full weight of the CIA up your ass? And she's like, we've both had bigger things up our asses.
That was the kink shaming in this episode. Nina was kink shaming Frenchie because he likes to get pegged.
It was power play. That kink shaming's gonna factor into power play sometimes with the Russian mob. You use the intel you got.
Fair enough.
But what was the note that ended on? They were gonna hook up Sherry with.
I don't know. Frenchie just left, but I don't know if anything was resolved. After he made the CIA threat, I thought he just got up and left.
No, the implication was they were going to he's going to hook up Grace with Nina or something. I have it in my head that they were going to like use her to get into Russia as like a backdoor into Russia.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that could be.
I think that's the direction we're heading. I cannot remember. My brain's bad, so I can't remember why I think that's what happened.
It would be smart, though.
We did have the flashback stuff. I really like Jensen. It's Jensen, right? Not Jansen. You're Jansen.
That's my name.
I like Jensen. I really like Laurie Holden. So far, they're doing nothing.
I have a feeling we'll get somewhere, but right now it's like a little boring. Also, we know
her thing is more than what she did in that show. Yeah, because she like boomed 2 people. You
can't do that to an audience at a theme park.
Apparently, you can. Oh yeah, because she did it to the mascot.
But that was like, regardless, I think something will come of it. Also, Black Noir, we know now why he always has the mask on and why he doesn't speak. He has traumatic brain injury from this Nicaragua thing. That's a lot to deal with, especially because I have a feeling he had his mask off because he was still arguing with Edgar. And that's why if he had the helmet on, he might not be so injured.
And he was arguing to keep it off.
Yeah, because he was like, I have to put the mask on just to like get service because no one recognizes me.
It's the Mason Dixon line.
It's like...
We're familiar with it. We're from Maryland, but it's
a lot.
I am, as much as I love this show, and I know that like conflict breeds creativity, but I am tired.
Me too. Super tired.
So tired of talking about. Because, like, Homelander's speech, I was going to criticize it for being, like, lazy or too on the nose or, like, the writing being cringy. But it's just like that! Everybody stays saying the quiet part out loud.
I feel like they just didn't even have to write that. I feel like they just cribbed it from something that actually happened. So staying on this unfortunate and uncomfortable topic, A-Train is also still going through it. And we have a
go ahead.
Blue Hawk. So we have a real Blue Lives Matter type of superhero now, too.
God, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, yeah, because the way his language was when he was getting interviewed, he got very aggressive, so he curb stomped him so hard that the curb cracked.
Yeah, I hope A-Train gets, I hope this goes somewhere a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope he gets
something
a little bit better.
And also back to his old uniform, because this one is so bad.
I wasn't a huge fan of Brother Exposition.
Yeah.
It was really clunky.
He's been around.
Has he?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember.
He was like his manager when he used to work at FOT.
Remember, and like everything out of his mouth was like, "Hey, brother, because you're my brother."
Yeah.
And it was very much telling.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I did need, but...
Also, the Exposition sister wasn't much better either, because she was like, "Don't you talk to your uncle that way?" And I'm like, "Great, so those are your kids? Great."
I mean, it's like... It is what it is.
Yeah. I will say I love Nick Weschler, who's playing Blue Hawk, so I can't wait for this to make me feel icky about him.
Oh, I knew. I was like, because like I said, we bookended with "Hit Me Baby One More Time." So Homelander springs it on the audience, the world, and also Starlight, that they're dating. And her
face the first time.
Disassociating, she almost went cross-eyed a little bit when she just sort of was like...
So funny. And all the people in production were like, "Oh my God, that's great. But Starlight, you need to look less surprised." And then they kissed and everything.
She kissed him. She's like I said, I love Starlight. She's like one of my favorite characters, and you have to lean in. I mean, it's sort of the slave Leah of it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I'm very interested to see how this show progresses. So there's 5 episodes left.
Oh, Huey's also sort of taking... Well, I mean, I agree, though. I was remembering their conversation where she was talking to him on an iPad.
Yeah.
She was
it was like her phone was like this big. So huge.
And she's like hanging on for dear life, and he's like, "Well, keep holding."
Yeah. Well, he made that really good point where he was like, "We keep trying to fight them the right way, and that's clearly not working. So we need to sink to their level, essentially."
Relatable.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, on that note, we talked about the octopus for so long.
It was important.
It was.
It was important, and justice for Chase Crawford as like a legitimate actor.
Yeah. And also octopuses.
Also octopuses, yes. Go watch My Octopus Teacher on Netflix. Very good.
Bye.
Hey, see you next week.